Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. I'm Caleb Dennison in for Greg Nibbler, who is taking some much needed time off. He's probably camping. Welcome to the show. It has been an incredible week and weekend. Maybe tech news slows down for some, but certainly not for us. In case you were camping over the weekend, quite a bit happened. So we're going to cover that. And also, I want to let you know we've got some interesting news surrounding the Google Pixel 4a. So you're definitely going to want to stick around for that. But first, in case you weren't paying attention to the news over the weekend, a little thing happened with the SpaceX Dragon. You may remember that it launched about 61 days ago, made it up with the ISS floating around the world, and came down over the weekend. They undocked on Saturday and they splashed down on Sunday. Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley both made it safely down. Crew Dragon splashed down early yesterday. And what happens next? I mean, it was a big, momentous occasion. The mission is largely being considered successful. But what happens now that the capsule has splashed down? Well, it hit the Gulf of Mexico yesterday. It was successfully recovered. They pulled it up onto a U.S. Spacecraft, or I'm sorry, a ship, and got it out of the water. The astronauts were recovered successfully, as I mentioned before. Now it's time to clean it up. It definitely went through a lot during that time. You can see it there being raised out of the water and onto the vessel. It's going to head back to a place called the Dragon Lair. Yes, that's exactly what they call it. And it's going to get some cleaning and some analysis. They want to get the capsule looking nice and spiffy for its next mission, which is hopefully going to be in September. They've got to clean up all the effects of the re-entry because it burns super hot as it comes down, as you can imagine. It's got to battle Earth's atmosphere, but also they want to analyze all the data from the capsule that it collected over the time that it was in space, docked to the ISS, and then, of course, coming down. SpaceX is essentially attempting to earn a certification so that it can fly NASA's commercial crew and ISS operations. It did this mission successfully, but there is a certification program that NASA runs, and it's trying to get certified to do future operations. And if that all goes well, the first technical operational mission called Crew One should launch in September 2020, for going up to the ISS with Crew Dragon Commander Michael Hopkins, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialist Shannon Walker, all from NASA, together with the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency mission specialist Soichi Noguchi. So a 4-person crew crammed into that little capsule, which would be pretty momentous and also really short on space. So if everything goes well, September 2020, we're going to be watching this all over again. Of course, SpaceX is known for grabbing the first stage rocket and landing it on an aircraft carrier. That went successfully this past time, and we expect it will do so again. But if you are looking to get into space, it's going to cost you a bunch of money. You could go with Virgin Galactic and sign up for their little space travel mission that they're putting together. I imagine that costs, I don't know how much it costs, but I imagine it costs a ridiculous amount of money. But Virgin Galactic isn't just working on taking people to the edge of space. There is news now that we have images of their Mach-3 spacecraft. Now, again, this is basically going to be the first supersonic commercial aircraft to fly since the Concorde was decommissioned back in 2003. Virgin Galactic is aiming to take commercial passengers from point to point on Earth, not in space, at Mach 3 or Mach 2 to 3. Mach 3 is its top speed, sometime in the very near future. Now, they've partnered with Rolls-Royce for the turbo engines that are required to make this kind of flight travel. And to put things in perspective, when the Concorde maxed out at about 1,300 miles an hour, it's expected that this jet from Virgin Galactic could top out at about 2,300 miles per hour, which is significantly faster. Again, to put things in perspective, this plane could be about as fast as the famed SR-71 Blackbird and could significantly shorten long-range flights. So the SR-71, which could fly at just over Mach 3 itself, once set a London to LA record of just shy of 4 hours, and it did London to New York in about 2 hours. So again, significantly shortening some seriously long-range travel. possibly in the very near future. But getting a look at this plane, it looks absolutely fantastic and futuristic. And I can't wait to hop on board. I'm sure somebody's going to invite me to do that. Um, Meanwhile, rumors that Microsoft might buy TikTok is really having some interesting effects across the world. Obviously, the Trump administration has mentioned that it wants to ban TikTok due to concerns about security and privacy. The ByteDance, Chinese-based ByteDance company operating TikTok as TikTok here in the United States has caused a lot of controversy. Recently, Microsoft announced that it is interested in taking over the US operations of TikTok, and that could happen very soon. Other companies have expressed interest as well, but all of this movement has caused another online video app called Triller to soar in popularity. In fact, it's at the top of the charts on both the Apple App Store as well as the Google Play App Store. Um, Triller has told us that downloads for this video app have grown by 20 times in the last week alone, totaling about 250 million across the world. It now sits above popular services such as Snapchat and TikTok itself in a number of countries such as the United States, India, France, and more. Triller right now has about 50 million monthly active users. That's as of July 2nd. And it's been around for years, but TikTok's future hangs in the balance. So the video app has, basically seen an astronomical rise in popularity. It's not the only one. There are other apps that have also seen a meteoric rise in popularity. All of this just due to the fact that what's going on with TikTok doesn't seem to be very clear. Will it get bought by Microsoft? Could a ban actually go in place? Users are seeking out alternatives. And as a matter of fact, just a couple of days ago, Triller unveiled some new camera filters, presumably to give its users some more stuff to chew on and something that's a little bit more interesting to attract new users over to the platform. So it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out over the next little while. Triller definitely seeing a huge ramp up in popularity. Next up, and this is a big one, folks, Google is going to announce the Pixel 4a today. It was suspected that would be the case. Now it is official. A press release has been issued by Google around the launch of the smartphone. And folks, this could be a pretty big deal. If it comes in at the price expected, it's going to put the hurt on the iPhone SE. At least that's what some are suspecting. Right now, we know that it's going to be sometime today that it will be announced. The phone offers a lot for what is suspected to be a $350 price point. It's going to offer a 5.8-inch OLED display along with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 730 processor. So it's not a supercharged phone, but it's considered to be good enough for most folks. It also should offer 6 gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of storage. There's also rumor that it could also offer a 128 gigabyte storage capacity, along with a 12 megapixel rear-facing camera, an 8 megapixel front-facing camera. And again, if it turns out that this thing comes in at about $350, well, that would be pretty gangbusters. So we're going to see all of that later today. Definitely keep it at Digital Trends because we're going to have comprehensive coverage of this phone's launch. It should be very exciting, and we do expect a few more details to emerge around the phone outside of what is being speculated based on the rumors. Next up, we have some news about that Garmin hack that took place last week. Now, if you're not familiar, Garmin was hit with a ransomware attack that basically rendered its Garmin Connect services unusable at the time. It was indeed a ransomware attack, and the ransom amount that was requested at the time was $10 million. We now know that Garmin has a decryption key. And if that is the case, that would point towards the fact that Garmin went ahead and paid the ransom, which is kind of a big development. Now, most of the people affected were users of Garmin's fitness bands, fitness watches, and the like. There is some word out there that the outage could also have affected Fly Garmin, which would mean that it was in violation of FAA policies. So that could also get Garmin in a lot of hot water. But the attack utilized Wasted Locker ransomware, which at the current moment, there is no hack for that. There's no workaround. If somebody gets your data using this particular ransomware, then the only way to unlock it is with a decryption key. And as I mentioned before, we now know that Garmin did indeed get a hold of this decryption key and and basically has started reinstating its services over time. Still not 100% back up, but it's getting there. We're currently investigating to find out if Garmin did indeed pay that 10 million or if it was some other amount in order to get the decryption key. And of course, there is no word yet as to the perpetrator of this particular hack. That's it for the news today. Now we're going to move on to the product of the day.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day.
Product of the day. This is one that is very, very near and dear to my heart. We are, of course, talking about the Sony 55-inch A8H OLED TV. This is a TV that I have personally reviewed. It is absolutely stunning. It's got perfect black levels, excellent brightness. It's a TV that's going to appeal to cinephiles, particularly people who enjoy watching movies. The picture quality for all kinds of video is top notch, but particularly great at displaying movies. It's the best picture quality that you can get thanks to its OLED panel, perfect black levels, very good brightness, excellent contrast. The color right out of the box is absolutely on point. It's got great processing, so when you're streaming low bit depth content from sites like Netflix and Amazon and Hulu, it actually takes that content and makes it look a lot better. Now, it does not have HDMI 2.1 like a lot of competing sets are coming out with, and that means that it lacks a lot of the gaming-centric features that folks often want these days. But again, if you're basically buying this TV to enjoy watching TV, it is absolutely astounding. And right now, it's at the best deal I've ever seen so far. You normally would purchase this TV for $2,300, and right now it's available for $1,900 for a limited time. The link to buy is bit.ly/Sony A8H deal. We've got that right on screen for you. Again, that's bit.ly/Sony A8H deal. Definitely check that out. It is well worth it. Well, folks, that is the news. When we come back, we've got a very special interview for you. Stick around. We'll be right back in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison with Digital Trends Live. I promised you an interesting interview, and that is exactly what we've got for you right now. Coming with us right now is Linda Jojo. She's the Executive Vice President of Technology and Chief Digital Officer for United Airlines. Linda, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Caleb. Great to be here.
Awesome. So you have a very interesting job during a very interesting time. Obviously, air travel has gone through a lot during the global pandemic. Things are starting to come back, but I imagine it's basically brought a lot of new challenges into the works. Can you first tell me a little bit about your job, what you do at United Airlines, and how that's changed, in recent months?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I have the privilege to lead an awesome team of technologists, digital product executives, team members, and analytics team members that really drive the technology across the airline from our mobile app and our digital channels that customers use to book and use for day of travel, all the way to just scheduling our pilots, our flight attendants, our technicians across the board.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of responsibility as it is. But as I said before, the global pandemic has brought about a lot of new challenges. How has that changed what you're doing right now?
Yeah, we certainly have had to pivot. There's no doubt about it. With the dramatic change in who's flying and why they're flying, we've had to pivot to the kinds of things we're working on, but we haven't changed how we work. And what we're really proud of is how we partner with the rest of the airline, think about how we can drive change. And in this case, it's really all about customer safety. Are they safe? Do they feel safe to fly? What are we doing to make it safe to fly? And communicating it to them. So one of the examples that we've just put out in the last few days is the ability for customers to text us. You can text the Fly UA, or you can go to 35982. I text the word clean, and then you come up with a chat system that will interact with the customer, answer their questions about how to prepare to fly, what clubs are open, what we are doing to keep the airports clean, what we're doing to keep the aircraft clean, and any kind of question that customers may have about that.
So, interesting. So you're basically giving a direct line to your passengers, to folks inside United Airlines, to kind of help them get prepared for what is basically a new version of travel. Can you tell me some of the kinds of information, unique pieces of information that they could get with this chat function, something that would be especially relevant to the way air travel has changed recently?
Well, I think people consume information different ways, and so this chat is able to show things like we just had on that video. What are we doing to clean the planes? The fact that we have electrostatic spray that happens on every flight, the wipe downs that are occurring. You may have questions about how airflow. And we talk about how the air vents point down, that air flows through the cabin. It mixes with 50% outside air, goes through a HEPA filter and comes back. It's a very clean experience. It's almost like hospital grade air. And we're providing that information to customers. It's changing a lot. If you haven't flown since before the pandemic, you'll find that it's a very different experience. We want to make sure that customers are prepared for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I imagine, I have personally have not yet traveled via air, but I understand that the in-flight, from the preparation to the actual in-flight experience has changed quite a bit. But what about before you actually get on the plane, from the moment that you get to the airport and get to your terminal? What kinds of things have changed? I've heard a little bit about touchless kiosks, but what's the experience like before you get on the plane, and how does your technology integrate into that experience?
Well, that's a great example, Caleb. We certainly didn't have touchless kiosks up on the drawing board in February, yet we now have them out in 216 of our airports. And the idea is, now if you're using the app, you don't have to go to a kiosk unless you want to check a bag. But before the pandemic, you had to punch some buttons. And so now we use your boarding pass and the technology you have on the app to actually get that bag tag without having to go up to an agent or having any interaction like that. When you get through security, the TSA has changed their procedures so that you don't have to interact with either your paper boarding pass or your app. And then the same thing happens when you're at our gate. Now, of course, we're requiring that our customers wear masks in the airport and on board. We have lots of signage, lots of ways to make sure people understand that. But all of this is trying to make sure that you can get on board with the minimal amount of touching possible.
And this is all part of your Clean Plus program, is that right?
That's right. One of the things that our chief customer officer did very early was say that while we think we know what we're doing, it would be great to get some expertise involved. So we partnered with the Cleveland Clinic who understands how germs and viruses are transmitted, and with Clorox, who's just, the brand when it comes to cleaning supplies. And they're actually the ones that are advising us on all the programs and all the things that we're then communicating with through our digital channels.
Obviously, a lot of changes that you've had to make. Can you, as we get ready to say goodbye here, can you tell me a little bit about what it's been like bringing teams together to pull all this together? I mean, obviously, you were on a pretty short timeline, and things had to happen very quickly to get air travel resumed. Can you tell me a little bit about what that experience has been like?
Well, air travel never stopped. That's one of the things we're most proud of, is we're an essential service. And so we never stopped flying. We fly a lot less than we did a few months ago, but getting everybody rapidly ready for those that have jobs like me, who predominantly are in an office. How do we get them to change and work from home? We're spending a lot of time on Zoom calls and team calls and those kinds of things. But I'll tell you what, as great as that technology is, I can't wait to get back out into the system and start being face-to-face with both my team members and our customers. There's nothing like face-to-face.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with you on that. It's amazing how we've all adapted. And as you mentioned, essential service, never stopped flying, always had to do that. Obviously, we're seeing more and more passengers getting on board. I think it's a really key statement toward the efforts that you and others have made to make us feel safe traveling. And for that, I thank you, Linda Jojo. Thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Thanks, Caleb.
That's Linda Jojo. She is the Executive Vice President of Digital at United Airlines. Obviously, had a lot to do over the last few months to get things prepared for cleaner air travel. When we come back, Drew Prindle with basically awesome tech that you can't buy yet. He's got some winners selected for this particular show. We'll see you in just a few moments. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison with Digital Trends Live, and we have come to that point where we must bring in Mr. Drew Prindle for awesome tech you can't buy yet. Drew, how you doing?
Not too bad, man. Glad to see you hosting.
I wish I was as glad. No, it's been a very fun morning. What an interesting weekend we had with the Splashdown, and interesting news coming out about the Pixel 4a. Lots of tech news happening, but let's get down to some super fun products. You always bring the goods. Tell me about the first one you got today.
All right, so since it's like camping season and it's summer and stuff, let's talk about the Campster chair. So this thing it's a little bit different than the camp chairs that you've probably seen, and for some reason, probably just because it's summer, there are a ton of these on Kickstarter and Indiegogo right now. But this one I think is it's a little bit special. So it's an ultralight camp chair, but it's kind of in the middle. It's not the lightest one I've ever seen. You can get ones that are under a pound, but those ones typically you have to put together with like super lightweight, like tent poles, and they only have 2 feet, and they don't have like a full size back. So you're basically compromising like comfort in order to shave like a pound or two off of it. But this one doesn't do that. It's 2 pounds, but it has a full back, and it has this like telescoping system, and it collapses and opens. Super simple. You don't have to like fit poles into little notches or anything like that, or stretch the fabric. You basically just pull it out of the case and extend it, and it's ready to sit in, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, I'll have one of those, please. Like, first of all, I love how, compact it is. And yet, as you said, it's not a compromised chair. You get that full back, and it's a normal height. With something that small, I can basically stick that in my camping gear or my pack, forget about it, and it'll always be there for me. I actually went camping recently and I forgot my camp chair, so I spent the entire time on a really uncomfortable stone. This
Yep.
looks way better than that. That looks like
Yeah.
a cool product.
Just the fact that it's like the size of a water bottle is what caught my eye. I was like, my God, like I have a small one, but it's considerably bigger than that even. And it's unruly. Like you saw that video of the guy fumbling with a bunch of poles. That's me every time that I have to bust out my camp chair. So yeah, this one is definitely worth looking into if you like to go camping on the weekends.
So, I mean, the name of the segment is Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet. So I assume I can't actually buy this yet. But if I wanted to get into it, where would I go?
This one is on Indiegogo. It's currently going for around, I think it's $79 for the super early bird backer. There's apparently only 5 of those left. But yeah, hit up Indiegogo. It's already fully funded, so while it's not like guaranteed that they're actually going to follow through and manufacture it, these guys have made collapsible chairs in the past, so they kind of know what they're doing. It's a fairly safe bet that they're going to deliver on it. So yeah, that's where to go.
Yeah, you always got to be cautious with the crowdfunding stuff. But as you said, this one looks like a pretty safe bet. Cool. What's next?
All right. This next one is one of those things where you're like, wait a minute, like, how has this never been made before? It's an electric scrubber. Hold on, I'm blanking on the name. It's got a weird one. No, it's Skidoo is what it's called. It's got this little. It looks like an electric shaver, but instead of like blades, it's got scrubber pads. So what is it? It's basically an electric sponge, which like I was like, this has to have been invented before, right? And like sort of like there have been a couple attempts at making it, but for the most part, electric scrubbers are designed either for your floor or for like your toilet. But this one is specifically designed for like the kitchen and like scrubbing dishes and pots and pans and countertops and stuff like that. And it's pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of like an electric toothbrush. It's got like the little head that you can swap out and exchange when one gets too old and you need like a fresh scrubbing surface. But yeah, you hit the button, it spins like super high RPMs or whatever, and just makes cleaning surfaces easier than ever.
I am also getting this one. Drew, basically, I'm going to be broke when this segment is over. That looks fantastic. I can definitely get behind a product like that, especially like post camping when your camp stove and all your pots and pans are crusted over with like hamburger helper and stuff. Like this looks like
Yep.
it could actually get it off.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It is portable too, so presumably you could take this wherever you go, outdoors, indoors, wherever you may be.
Just for the record, I eat more than Hamburger Helper when I'm camping, but that looks killer. The next one that you've got for us, Drew, you kind of tease it as Tamagotchi for hackers, and I'm trying to imagine what this is in my head, and I can't. So all about it.
Yes, it's super weird. This is definitely one of those things that you can only find on like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. This is not something that you would just like come across in like a store. So that's basically what it is. It's a hacker tool. Think of it as like a multi-tool for hackers. But the Tamagotchi thing is that's like a weird element to it. So it's got all these like radio protocol things. It's basically designed for penetration testing of like wireless devices. So you could use it to hack into garage door openers and like, I don't know, cars and bike locks and anything else that uses a wireless signal or whatever. It's designed for that, but it's also got this like gamified element. So it's this little dolphin that like pushes you, and the way that you feed it is by like hacking into stuff and playing around with the devices around you. And if you don't do that, it like it's not happy, and it makes dolphin noises at you, I guess. It's so weird. You have to check out the video because I'm probably doing a terrible job of explaining what it is, but the video does a great job.
Don't make the dolphin mad. That is a good life rule in general, I think, Drew. Wow. Talking about this, it makes me realize, you've got NFC chips implanted in your hands. I wonder if I could hack your hands with this device. And maybe
you'd have to get real close. Maybe you could. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if you could, but you'd have to be right up on me. And I don't know if I would allow that.
No. Physical distancing measures are very much in place, and we're not going there, but it's a fun idea all the same. Well, Drew, thank you so much for joining us for another great segment of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet. I hope you have a fantastic week and take care.
Yeah, thanks, man.
You bet. That's Drew Prendel with Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet. And with that, my friends, we have wrapped another episode of Digital Trends Live. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us again tomorrow. Greg Nibbler will make a triumphant return after his little recuperation day off. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for having me into your homes or your offices or wherever you were watching this particular program. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you again tomorrow.